Hello.
Morning.
Hi. We're back.
We are at the Saturday morning LiveCast for WikiTree, and we are so royal. We are.
So royal.
It's royally hot up here. It was royally hot. It broke
It is
Thursday night.
very
Are you
hot.
still
Oh
hot
man,
there,
this t-shirt is
Betsy?
so hot.
Yeah, it's been brutally hot, like 90s, upper 90s.
Speaking of Greg's t-shirt,
No, oh no.
Yes.
Greg and I were at
Yes.
the Ontario Ancestors 2024 conference. It was a fabulous conference.
It was
Big
great.
crowds. Not as big as Roots Tag, but pretty big conference considering. And I had on Sunday morning, I had a wonderful WikiTree workshop that I did. And I said to Greg, I said, so Sunday is WikiTree Day. It's WikiTree Day. WikiTree Day, you wear your orange or your WikiTree shirts and you sit around and you get hugs. Well, there were supposed to be 43 people in my workshop, which was just 2 below the full thing. And I made 50 handouts, and we even tried to go find somebody to make copies of the handouts because we had so many people come in for that WikiTree workshop. And the greeters, oh my goodness, I set it up with Pip beforehand for the greeters to recognize the workshop people so we could get them in, get them looking at the honor code and explained all that to them before we started to sign up. The greeters were on the ball. Oh my goodness, They were getting people approved right and left, and it was just great. Thank you, Pip and the greeters, my favorite project. I always say that. And I'm like working on the workshop. We're at the very last few seconds and I'm still doing it. And Greg comes walking in the room wearing a plaid dress shirt.
Greg.
It was Sunday morning.
Greg.
Yeah.
He walked in and my honest reaction was, I'm sitting there talking and I see, Greg, no pictures, no WikiTree Day for you on Sunday. You knew I was going to try. You knew I was going to say. Okay, so it's all fun and good. It was such a great conference, and it was so fun to be able to hang out with Greg.
It was fun.
In a conference situation. Johnny Pearl and I were hanging out a lot too. Except he called me to meet him for a drink, and I was already in bed. I think it was 6:00 Saturday night. I'm just kidding. So yeah, it was a great conference. WikiTree was so there. It was so wonderful to see so many people coming up, and it has such a huge turnout for that workshop. It was great. Yay!
Yeah. Awesome.
So this is the Saturday morning roundup for WikiTree.
Yeah.
Not the hang Greg out to dry because he forgot the right wardrobe.
Well, it was nice to meet other WikiTreeers there because there were a couple times people came up and said, "Where have we met before?"
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out where we'd actually met. And I thought, "Do you watch WikiTree on YouTube?" And that was it.
They recognized him from here. So this is the roundup where we round up the week that was at WikiTree. And the week that was for me was I was out at the cottage all week.
Nice.
What did you do this week, Betsy?
This week I'm getting ready. I'm going to teach a flute camp next week. Woo-hoo. So I'm getting all ready for the campers to come.
Yep. Doesn't that sound exciting?
It does. Yeah.
Greg, what are you up to?
What am I up to? I did some work on my DNA confirmation app. It's getting closer for release again. The update. Yay. And a bunch of other stuff, doing some other things for getting ready for the Wiki Games.
The Wiki Games are coming up. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first off, let's talk about some of those royalty things that I was just talking about. So, do you have any royal people in your family, you guys?
If you go back to the 1100s, we're descended from some royalty.
Betsy?
But you have to go really, really, really far back.
Yeah. Well, not proven. My middle name is Tudor, which my mom, there's a long-standing belief on that branch of the family that it was the royal Tudors, but I haven't proven it yet. So
no, have you? Is that why you were named Tudor? Was because your family believes there's some sort of connection? Was that?
Well, no, it's my grandmother's maiden name, and so Tudor was my mother's maiden name, and then it was her grandmother. Tudor was my mother's middle name, and it was her grandmother's maiden name.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's
to
what
have
got,
a Tudor name, actually.
That's what got me into genealogy. Is that I was so curious.
I thought it was you were going to say it's gotten you into lots of chic restaurants and. Okay. All right. So I haven't even said good morning to everybody. Hello, everybody. Lisa Gervais was in here first. She's royalty. And I answered her by saying, Ottawa misses you. Aw. Let's see. Amanda from Melbourne. Vicky Blanco is here. I hear Blicky. I hear Blicky. That's Vicky's new name is Blicky. Vicky's going to be joining us here coming up in July some. Here on the live cast, yes. Chris Ferriello is here. Donna Gerber. Mary Sleppy is here. Sunny and warm southwestern Pennsylvania. Yoke is here. Pat Jackson. Hey, Patricia. How are you? From Kentucky. It's still hot. That's okay. The Story Whisperer. Hey. Ooh, that's mysterious.
That's a
D. Spencer Carr.
Hey, D.
Augusta, Georgia. Yeah. Good morning from Collingwood. Hey, Murray Maloney.
Hey, Murray.
Oh, this is Stephanie, she says. Story Whisperer. I like it better without knowing who you are. I know it's very. Oh, I should show you some really funny stuff. Okay. Good morning, Susie Carter, Crystal J. APM 17 is here. Chris Wine is here.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Maggie. From the hot Niagara. It shouldn't be hot down there now. Judith Fry, Kathy Bauer, Lisa Gervais. I already said hey to you. Let's see, who have I not seen yet? Mary Sleppy, Terry Buck, Terry Burks, John Tyner. Hey, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. And there we go. According to WikiTree, I'm related to all the royal profiles except Perkin Warbeck. Who is Perkin Warbeck anyway? So back to what I was asking. The question of the week is, do you have any royalty in your family tree? You guys, I'm planning a visit to Hampton Court during my vacation in September that definitely has a Tudor connection. It absolutely does.
For sure.
Okay, so here's our question of the week. Now, I was not expecting the question of the week to take the turn that it did this time.
Uh-oh.
First off, let's do a big upvote of the question of the week and make sure we vote up those good answers. 30 answers. And the first one, it says, yes, Scottish, English, Plantagenet, Welsh, Irish, also from North Germanic Principality and American Royal House and Crusader, Armenian Royal House and Crusaders time, and I think also Spanish, Portuguese, probably both. Let's hit every European country that there possibly could be. It was all on WikiTree when I connected my last great grandmother with a last name of Smith. Yeah. So that's all ancestral. By the marriages of those families, I must be related to all European and a lot of Scandinavian royalty, just like billions of others of European descent. So she goes on down and talks Maud of Lancaster. That's one of my favorite queens of England, is Queen Maud. And that's from Gary Burgess. But here we go. This is the little, there's a beginning of a turn here. Who doesn't? Wink. That's a winky face right there. Just to let you know. If all the connections on WikiTree are correct, I am descended from Scottish and English royalty. The first one which comes to mind is Robert the Bruce, who is allegedly her 25th great-grandfather. And King Henry II of England is also allegedly one of my 25th great-grandfathers. So there's an interesting bit of something. And I don't think Robert the Bruce and Henry II lived in the same time frame, did they? Did they? Somebody look up their life, because that would indicate that one of her lines has long or short. Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
And then and then I don't usually go to the comment sections a lot. I usually just deal with the question. But here we go. I would agree with you. Who doesn't? I also am descended from Robert the Bruce, the Plantagenets, all the signers of the Magna Carta who have descendants through one or the other of my parents, and various other royalty through early Europe's power struggles. Birds of a feather, if one can trace their lineage past 10 generations, it is sure that they would belong to the upper classes. Now, this is Linda Body. And then Isabella Martin, or Martin, I guess it should be pronounced, is Isabella Martin. Well, I don't. I am not descended from any aristocrat, let alone royal in any shape or form. I have no ancestors I can identify earlier than the end of the 16th century. I know Isabella, and she's been on WikiTree for 1,000 years, at least. So if anybody would have connections, it would be her. So we need to get on the job here and see if we can figure out Isabella's connections. Or I may actually be a descendant of some knight who was fooling around, or actually something more sinister with the local circle, since I have roots somewhere that was a frontier area. But obviously there will never be a paper trail for it. And here's the crux of this. People were talking about, Linda Body comes back again and says, paper trails are essential markers for connection of any sort, whether to skeletons in one's closets, famous train robbers, or illustrious knights. Also, more to the point, where our family originated makes a difference as well. Most of the paper trails of nobility are historically noted in Britain and Western Europe. My Hungarian descended husband did find royalty, and my Polish Dutch friend didn't either. He didn't, and she didn't either. Apparently, it only takes one ancestor to be a gateway to numerous royalty. 2 or 3 gateway people, and someone will have a tree full of nobles. And I don't believe it makes one special, but someone else might, if they're feeling they had no particular value of their own accord. So it's interesting, the back and forth on this one answer, talking about having, and it goes on. Leif Bieber Christensen says, I'm unable to find ancestors much earlier than the 16th century, trying to follow that paper trail. But the difference is, are we looking for those connections, those 6 degrees? Is it a game? Are we having fun with it? Or are we being serious genealogists and really trying to hammer down those paper trails and stuff? Hey, WikiTree makes no apology for having a fun way to find connections through our connections. And no, we are not all related to royalty. That is the question of the week, and I'm going to cut it there and move on. It was fabulous to read all this stuff and read all of that, but it's a little bit lighter question than what people were doing. But it is a valid point that the genealogical records don't go back far enough for us to really prove a lot of those connections. They really don't. So we just have fun and play 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. All right. There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's play a different game. Again, it's connection checkers.
And connecting is fun.
And because connecting is fun. Indeed, it is. So the theme for this week is the War of the Roses. We're not talking about the movie that came out with was it Michael Douglas and who was it? Catherine? I can't remember who the other one was with, but not that movie. No, we're talking about the old War of the Roses that ended officially on the 16th of June, which was this week, in 1487. The Lancasters versus the Yorks. So the question with the connection checkers is, which house are you more closely related to? So here's all the peeps. And I'm going to grab my profile and zip down to the bottom of it where it shows the connections there. And I'm just going to slide that over a little bit so we can see here. So here's if you go to the bottom of your own profile, you'll see the connections. If you have the WikiTree browser extension installed, then they will be sorted in ascending order, so you can see the ones that are closest are the ones at the top. Now, interestingly, this week, everyone is within 2 degrees. Like my closest are 21 degrees, and I have a raft of those. Then a bunch of 22 degrees, and then a few 23 degrees. So they're all very tightly packed.
Yeah, me too. 20 to 23 is my range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like someone who was in our chat, and Megs, you read out her name, but I can't remember what it was offhand. I should have remembered. The one person, there is one person I'm not connected. I'm connected to everyone else except for Perkin Warbeck.
Oh, and he's my number one. Well, he's one of my closest.
No way.
Yeah.
Wild.
He's 3 down for me.
Is he? Well, oh no, he is there. What is he? Oh, you know what? It's not that I'm not connected to him. I'm connected to him 22 degrees. He's not my cousin. All the rest of them are cousins of some sort. 7th cousin.
Got it.
That's what it was.
First cousin 18 times removed for Edward of York. Second cousin so many times removed for Henry Stafford. Yeah, all of them.
See, I'm 5th, 6th, or 7th cousin multiple times removed so I am. Anyways, that's interesting. So
I'm not related to Perkin.
You're not related to Perkin. Okay. So the 1, 2, 3, the top 3 are all from the York side. So I guess I'm more on the side of the Yorks, slightly, but only slightly. So I'm curious, for everyone who's watching, are you closer to more Yorks or more of the Lancasters?
York.
Okay. So that will be something for you.
But they connect.
But they do connect. Yeah, I know. They're related to each other.
And
yeah, that's great. So I read through all the profiles a couple times, and I was just thinking, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of ins and outs and stuff, and so this could be a really long segment, and could be a really boring segment. So I decided.
And I even left you plenty of time.
And you left me plenty of time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize the history quickly from the main screen here, where it's a little clearer, and then we're going to go through the profiles and just pick out things that are interesting about the profiles themselves. Which is really what WikiTreeers care about, is how the profiles are made and how they look, and is there something there that I can do with some of my profiles?
And is there good sourcing and
is there good sourcing? Yes, exactly, and categories and all the other stuff that makes up for a good profile.
And bling.
Bling, 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 bling. So the War of the Roses was, I think it was about a 30-year war, and basically it came about. Henry VI was King of England. But Henry VI had some problems. He had some mental instability. He was declared insane at some points. And so because of that, some people thought, well, maybe he really shouldn't be on the throne. And so the Duke of York also had, was related, was in the royal line. And so he thought, well, maybe I'd be better in that regard. So that's where the conflict started. And Edward IV, there was a bunch of fighting back and forth and whatnot. And Edward IV eventually won in a battle and deposed Henry VI. And so he was imprisoned. He wasn't killed. He was just imprisoned. And so Edward IV became the king after he won a battle, and then Parliament agreed or whatever. And then there was a brief period in time when there was a bit of a revolt, and Edward IV was deposed, and Henry VI came back. But that didn't last too long, and then Edward IV took over again. There was a battle, and he was actually killed. And then Richard III, after some MacGyver, who was Edward's brother. So actually, when Edward IV died, he had a son, Edward V, who was a minor, and Edward V was being escorted from where he was where he was in safety up north down to London for his coronation. And one of the things about Edward IV is that when he married, he inherited all of his wife's family and all of her in-laws, and the chariots and the charioteers. Who
was the wife?
The wife is, it was either a Margaret or Elizabeth, and I can't remember offhand, but we'll find out in the profiles. Windeville, I think, was the last name. And all of these hangers-on all wanted special favors. And the people who had helped Edward get there, you know, were being pushed aside because of this. So the in-laws were not very popular. And Richard's brother, Richard, was the only one of his brothers who remained loyal to him. He had a brother who had betrayed him and went over to the Lancaster side. And Richard was hard done by these in-laws as well. So at one point he declared, he had Edward's marriage declared invalid, which would mean his heir was illegitimate, which would make Richard the legal heir, and so he became king. Then there's another suspicious thing. Edward did have 3 sons. After he died, there were 3 sons, including Edward V, and somehow all 3 princes were ended up in the Tower of London and never seen again. So there's a question about what happened there. Maybe not so much a question as, you know, the details. Richard went on to rule, but then he died in a battle, and that was basically the end of the War of the Roses. And as it turns out, Henry VII, the son of Henry VI, ended up marrying, or no, I'm not sure. Henry VII ended up marrying a Elizabeth of York, I think it was. Anyways, it was a daughter, one of Edward's daughters. So they ended up, and that became the beginning of the Tudor line. Henry VII was the first Tudor king. So I don't think he was directly a Lancaster. He was a Tudor from another one. Anyways, that's the history of it all. And then all these other people were bit players who were schemers and helped for one side or the other. The mother was quite a schemer as well. Anyways, all of that was it. The really neat one is the one at the end, and we'll get to him at the end there, because his story doesn't quite fit in with the other ones. Henry VI was a Tudor, not the son of Henry VI. Thank you, Ozzy. Yeah, when I said that, I thought, no, that's not quite right. Anyways, Edmund Beaufort, Duke of Somerset. So he was one of the ones who supported, let's see, which side did he side? He fought on the Lancastrian side, so the side of Lancaster. But he's got quite a nice profile here with the crest there, and you can see it large here. Love these old crests.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Aren't they nice? Yeah. Listed all the positions that he had here. Constable of Nottingham Castle. That's kind of cool. I wonder if he met Robin Hood. But lots of different things here. Now, I might have used bullet points or something so them to stand out, the titles to stand out better if I were doing that profile. But I don't know. That's maybe a personal preference. I'm not sure, Betsy or Megs, if you would have if that bothers you or not. For me,
that it's just a list without. Yeah, I would probably. I like that it's offset.
Yeah, I like the offset part. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no wraparounds. Like there's no places where we had it. No.
Here maybe.
Yeah, I might have. I don't know. I have one that has a bunch of stuff on it. Let me go look at that while you're continuing. Yeah.
I mean, some people have different, different preferences. I like bullet points or lists like that a lot. For me, the visual helps me to sort of break it up. But other people don't like that. So it's just like the tables or no tables, right?
Okay, so I did the same thing but I actually didn't offset it. So I'm going to go and do that now.
Well, that's a nice thing.
I have a cousin who is a very interesting notable, and she I didn't put, but I did say education : and then or career : and political affiliation. I forgot what, but I did do that, and some of her stuff did wrap around. So yeah, I'm gonna fix that now.
Okay, yeah.
Carry on.
Good sources, and also some see alsos, which are like maybe not directly in the WikiTree, but also good things to look up. So that's cool to have something read on Google Books. And then, of course, acknowledgements to the Magna Carta project, which is a great project that WikiTree has. So. And look at that, some needs development, some notes for some further work to be done. Excellent. Moving on is Margaret, Lady Margaret, also known as Tudor of Stafford. And she was the great-granddaughter, by right of primogeniture, she was the first in the line of the Beaufort family. But her claim to fame is through her son by second marriage, Henry Tudor. Right. So he became, let me see, is he the one who became Henry VII? Yes. So this is the line, this is where Henry the Tudor came in. And he's the one who did marry Elizabeth of York. So at the end of the world. So looking at her profiles, now, when I was first looked at this, I thought there's something wrong here. I must be misreading this, because look at her first husband, John Pole. Look at the marriage date.
You're not there. Are you there? Oh, yeah, you are. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, look at the marriage date. Married 7th of February, 1450.
Okay.
Now go back and look at her birth date.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but that, okay, I won't
So now, yeah. Now that marriage only lasted basically a little over a week. It was annulled in March of 1453. But hello, she was 7 years old.
But that was normal for royalty to marry. They would marry the kids so that they would take the lands and the property in to give them more revenue.
But officially marry? Wow.
Yep.
That is wild. Anyways, so in 1455, when she was a much more respectable 12 years old, she married her second husband, who was the Tudor from whom Henry Tudor came. And Henry was born in 57 when she would have been 14. So anyways, that marriage lasted till 58. Then Henry Stafford came along, and then that marriage lasted much longer. But anyways, those early marriages were a bit of a shock to me.
It was more to build political alliances than
it was a dynasty. It was, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the reasons, but I don't know. Anyways, now that's a very cool. There's a plaque for her, obviously taken right at the church, so that's cool. But that was, I wonder who took that.
Apologies for not getting these up. Posting some of the comments earlier. I had a mouse breakdown.
Mouse breakdown.
A mouse revolt.
Yeah.
Uploaded by C. McKinnon. Nice. Okay. And then there's some shirts and some research notes. We always love the research notes. Okay, John Butler from County Kilkenny in Ireland. There's a couple Irish ones here. He was an Earl of Ormond, was his name, and he helped out. Let's see, he was faithful to the Lancastrians. Oh no, he's attainted for his. But Edward IV, who's on the York side, restored him. I guess because he switched sides and helped out there. And even though he was born in Ireland, like his two brothers, he spent much of his life in England. There we go. Again, some nice sources here. Lots of family connections. In this, he was created through a JetCom. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. That's unusual for one of these historicals.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the date of the creation? The very, very early?
2010. It was an early one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truett family tree. Again. Again. I know the JetCom process has never been easy, but this is a surefire evidence of that. Isn't that? Because obviously Truett family tree.jed didn't work, so they had to use family tree again.
Or it was so big they had to break it down into so many small pieces.
That's great, But here's proof positive that a GEDCOM import can turn into a healthy, functioning, servicing, valuable member of society and profile worthy. So for all those who are naysayers there. Henry Lancaster of England, of course, Henry VI, preceded by, see, look at that here, it's preceded by Henry V, and then succeeded by the fourth. Then he's again in between Edward IV for one brief period. So there we go. Margaret Anjou was his wife, a French bride. So there we have a picture of poor Henry. And then what's really neat always is, of course, the table of descendants of Edward III, of which I guess he would be part of that.
And imagine all of the political unrest between France and England.
Oh, yeah.
Or the War of the Roses. It's nothing to do with politics, truly. It's just a big family spat.
It's a family squabble. Yep. The whole thing. Yeah. Louis Valois de France, Le Prudent, l'Universal Aragne. Universal Aragne in spider. This is the spider.
He's doing that just so he can say things pretty.
That's right. But the biography is only in English. There's no French biography here. Sorry. He was known as the Spider, the Universal Spider, because he was a plotter and he had his fingers and everything. And so now it's interesting. His biography is fairly short, and it's basically just his marriages and whatnot, and some vital stuff. But there are, if you read the rest of these profiles, you'll find out where he had his hands in and how he manipulated things. So, though I got to say, his portrait is not really, that's not really very flattering, is it?
He's got the biggest frowny.
The biggest frowny face. But look at this. Oh, look at this cool map. It's all about the houses in France. The parts of Burgundy and other Valois are all the blues. All of those that are in the blue tinge are from the Valois house. Cool. Moving on to Margaret Anjou, who was the wife of Henry VI. Her parents, Renée Anjou and Isabelle Lorraine. One of the principals, of course. And here's a picture of her. And again, she has some sources listed there. Doesn't look like there's any inline sources in this particular profile, which is interesting. And the sources are from various genealogies and royal histories, but links to things on Wikipedia and other. Isabel of Clarence and her connection, she was the daughter of Richard Neville, the Kingmaker. And again, it just sort of has the basic facts. Again,
that's a realistic portrait compared to the others.
It is more realistic. And that's the only thing that survives of her is just this little sketch that's done. There is no official portrait of Isabel.
I always thought those hats went up but they went back.
They sort of went back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right. That's how they portray them in TV and movies.
Yeah.
Especially the more evil, the more up they went.
I guess it was really hair.
Yeah. She has lots of online sources, though, and then there's some more details added afterwards. Moving on to Edward of York, Edward IV, who was the king there during the war. And again, you can see his... so he was officially succeeded by Edward V until the son was deposed and whatnot. So his profile is quite a bit more lengthy. So really reading his profile will give you a lot of the details of the history, fill in the gaps that I have chose to ignore. There's Edward. Interesting. And then another pedigree here from Roger of Mortimer. Interesting. And there through the Plantagenet, because his family had taken on the name of Plantagenet, which of course was a royal name from many years before. And then there's another family line here. And again, the profile goes on and on. So it's a nice long history. Thomas Fitzmaurice Fitzgerald. A very Irish. Fitzmaurice Fitzgerald. The 7th Earl of Kildare, born in 1421 in Lacar, Kildare, Ireland, died in All Hallows Church in Dublin, Ireland.
He died in the church?
Oh, no. Yeah. He says he died in the church. He was a Lord Chancellor of Ireland. Let's see. He was defeated by the Earl of Kildare, appointed Chancellor for life, founder of a order, the Brothers of St. George, dismissed from office. Oh, said he died on the 25th of March and was buried in All Hallows, Dublin. It says he was buried in. It doesn't say he died there specifically in the text of the profile. Doesn't say here, because that seems suspicious, doesn't it?
Well, it makes it sound like there's quite a story, you know.
Yeah. And more for WikiTreeers to research.
That's right. John Tyner, do you know anything about this?
I know. I was going to say John hasn't said a peep yet.
John, where are you? Inquiring minds want to know.
He's probably in his car driving somewhere now. Doesn't he often get in the car and drive while he's still listening to us? Yes.
Does he do that?
I think so.
Sometimes.
Oh my. Richard of York.
He carries us with him, so that's the important part.
That's right, yes. So he was the brother of King Edward. Took over from his nephew, deposed his nephew. That wasn't very family friendly. But again, we have another table here.
He was probably buried there, not died. No, I don't know anything about him. I don't know that. Well, then you're the passenger.
Or you think I'm Kathy Nava. But his profile though has lots of nice portraits. Ooh, there you can see he's a bit of a schemer there, maybe. Or I'm just reading into it.
He's doing this. Is that where this came from?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's a little bit of a side eye look there.
Oh, look! We could send a picture of him as an e-card.
Postcard.
Wow. I don't know. How many Richard III e-cards do you think are going to go out today? I don't know.
Look at her hat.
Look at that. Ooh. She's a little bit schemy if we use the height metric for evilness. I don't know. And then nice picture of the church. And go on. Again, this is another well-developed profile. Gives you a lot of the history with links all the way through to all the different characters. So that's very, very well done. Very impressive. Scroll to the bottom. Now, look at this, Mags. There's a whole DNA section.
Wow.
The maternal mitochondrial DNA.
That actually, they had find a guy in Canada who was a direct descendant to
Really?
Mitochondrial DNA. Yeah.
That's very impressive. Well, they have some Michael Ibsen, Wendy Doling. Are those WikiTree members? Do you think?
I don't know. Let's go look.
Well, let's just check. Living Ibsen. Well, Living Doling. Yeah. Those are WikiTree members.
Ooh.
That's cool.
You know, the funniest thing I find about Richard III when they finally found him and dug him up?
What's that?
Is there was an R in the car park over his grave. Over the asphalt. On the asphalt over his grave there was an R.
An
So
R.
somebody knew what was.
So somebody knew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a fun movie about that just recently. It was very good.
That's wild, yeah. And even there's some Y-DNA testing that has been done. Very cool.
And research notes.
And research notes, yeah. Henry Stafford. Okay, so he was the second Duke of Buckingham, and he was another one of the schemers who was Lancastrian, then went over and helped Edward because he also shared some of these in-laws that were not popular. There he is right there. So his profile is fairly detailed about that as well. And then the sources again from Ancestries and writings like that, collections. Mm-hmm. And the last person, the one who I'm not a cousin with, though I'm cousins with all these other people, fifth distantly, albeit. I'm not cousins with this guy because he comes from Belgium. Pierre-Jean de Verbeck, as was his original name, born about 1470 in Belgium. Ends up in England via Ireland. So he was a man of many talents, learned lots of languages, worked in different courts.
Well, we obviously know he's a pretender because none of us match him.
That's right. Yeah. So
even Yo.
He went to he was in Portugal and in the Portuguese court, and then sailed to Cork, and that's where he met someone who wanted him to impersonate Richard, the Duke of York, the second son of Edward IV. Remember, I said there were 3 sons of Edward IV that weren't seen after the coronation after a while. So Edward V being, of course, the heir to the throne. His brother Richard would have been the next in line if Edward V were killed, as they suspected he was. And then there was a third one as well. So they wanted him to impersonate one of these young princes who had disappeared, who therefore would have the rightful claim to the throne.
Yep.
So he did that, but then he was captured, and this guy was captured, and and that didn't bode well for him in the end.
It didn't bode well in the end.
It did not bode well. So now, the interesting thing is that he was, when he was first captured and confessed, the king Henry VII was okay with him at that time. Said, "Oh, okay, yeah, you just made a mistake," but then he still wasn't allowed to. He wasn't allowed to go free, in case he did build up a following, and then when he tried to escape, he said, "You've had your chance."
Yeah.
So interesting character, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there you go.
Was he really?
Well, I don't know.
It sound like oops.
Yeah, it sounded like
Vicky Blanco found the answer to the question about the fellow who died in the church. He died at the Battle of Bosworth. In Leicester. Yeah, Leicestershire.
And I thought that Patricia also had a good point that that he was a member of the church, and that's why they said he died in the church. Yeah.
Before we go to Betsy, this is who I want to be. He's my 30th great grandmother, supposedly. Here we go. All right, never mind. Go ahead, Betsy.
That's very tasteful. Very, very nice.
It is. Well, it's a great profile.
Yeah.
The legend. You have to go down here to get. But there's just a tiny little bit. I've decided I'm going to go get some books on Godiva.
Who manages her profile?
Somebody.
Oh.
John Atkinson and the Medieval Project.
Okay. Gotcha.
There you go. I'm just going to leave that here until you
take over the screen.
All right. So we have one photo, one ancestor to celebrate, and one tip. Well, Greg's going to do the tip this week.
Ooh.
So this is from Chris Wine, and we've looked at this ancestor of hers before. And Chris, I see you're in the chat, so I'm glad you're here. Melvin Wine is her first cousin, twice removed, and he was a legendary Appalachian fiddler.
Where's Sandy Paddock this morning?
Yes, where's Sandy?
Biscuits. Yeah. We have a couple of reasons to say that this morning, because there's more coming. And then she asks, well, apparently Chris said, until I can find the one I want to show you, I will show you these. And now, who is this cute little fella? Any guesses?
Is it Pip?
No. Little Jimmy Dickens.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Biscuits.
I would not do that on a stool. I would not do that on a stool. That's craziness.
And I was reading up on him a little bit this morning. He was the one who made sequins a thing.
Oh yeah,
really?
Country music.
Porter Wagner's show on Sunday Morning Gospel, or the Porter Wagner show, he had some sequins. That's crazy. When was he born?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm sure he's got a profile. We'll have to find him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Chris. Wonderful. And I think, don't we have, I mean, I know next Saturday is within June. It's a 5-Saturday month, isn't it? So you get a bonus.
I think it is. Yeah.
This month. So that means there's still time to send us your music pictures. Hint, hint. So for Celebrate Your Ancestor, Judith Fry, also in the chat today, asked that we celebrate her grandmother, Ida Wilder, who was born on June 16th, 1907, also married Robert Fry on June 22nd, 1936. He was her fourth husband, and they had not had any children. She had not had any children. They adopted Judith's father, and then boom, 4 children of their own. So, but Judith says, my dad was always her favorite. She also often said this to her mom. And I thought this was very special. Judith said, my last clear memory was her teaching me to make Mickey Mouse pancakes. I think of her every time I make pancakes, and I still make better pancakes than my mom, thanks to Grandma. So here's her profile. Appalachian. So biscuits again. And we have a nice photo of her.
She would make some good biscuits, I can tell. A little bit crispy on the edge.
So thank you very much, Judith, for sharing your grandmother with us. So Greg, I will turn it back to you.
Back to me. Okay. So for the tip of the week, what we're going to talk about is the relationship finder. And so we have... I'm just gonna add my stage. So when you're at someone's profile, and if you want to find out how you're related to them, you can just click on the menu that has their WikiTree ID, and then you click on Relationship to Me. Now, this person here that I've picked is not anyone that I'm actually related to, because I'm cheating and I'm using Betsy's relatives to start off with the demonstration. So M. Sansbury is not related to me, and it tells me as such. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and remove my WikiTree ID and put in Betsy's, and I hope Betsy doesn't mind me
Nope.
revealing her WikiTree ID to everyone.
I think everybody knows it.
They probably know it already. So M and Betsy, I don't know if M works with Agent 007. If that's Agent M we're talking about, we better be careful around Betsy then. So we get the MI6 after us. But anyways, M and Betsy are second cousins once removed. And when you look at that, okay, of course, it gives the details of how you're related. And so the common ancestor here is Sarah Ann Tudor. There's the Tudor who we talked. Yep. The royalty that Betsy's descended from, potentially, is a great-grandmother of M and the second great-grandmother of Betsy. And down here, you can see, you could explore more. There's two common ancestors. And almost always you'll get two common ancestors because one will be the great-grandmother and one will be the great-grandfather. So if I switch to George Tudor, the only thing that changes is the person at the top, the common ancestor, right? So you could think of this, even though there's two separate ancestors, it's really one ancestral couple. So it's the same relationship. Now, what we want to show you is that there's this advanced filter section, which most people don't use, or most people, and there's not always a good use for it. But the cool thing about that is if you put in a different WikiTree ID here, then what it's going to do is it's going to filter out the list and show how you're related to the people that this person is also related to them. So let me explain better by putting in another relative of Betsy's. So Redwood 535 is another cousin of Betsy's. And when I click on that, it says there are two common ancestors were found to also include Stuart Redwood. So Redwood 535 is Stuart. And they are in fact the same two. So if I choose George, then you see how George Tudor is the ancestor of M as well as Betsy, but then there's this extra one down here that shows how it's also a relative of Stuart. So that way you can see how all three cousins are related to each other, all descend from George and also from this common group from Sarah Ann. And you might ask why you might want to use that. Well, it's useful to verify that you're related to more than just one other person, that you're a series of joint cousins. It's especially useful if you're trying to filter down a list of cousins and trying to find a common DNA match or a common set of ancestors for DNA matches. And that's what the link says right here. So let's start this whole procedure again, and I'm going to use some of my own right now. So I'm going to start with one of my relatives. My fourth cousin once removed, René Joseph Aimé Pilon. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from the menu, choose relationship to me, and it will say that we are fourth cousins once removed. And you can see that I actually have my DNA confirmed up to a certain point. And if I could find a common, a series of cousins who we descend from a single branch, then I could continue that confirmation up to potentially Angelique Poirier. So between the two of us, we have 54 ancestors in common. So that might be a pipe dream of mine, but Angelique Poirier is the fourth great grandmother, and Charles Marcoux is her husband, the fourth great grandfather that we both descend from. However, I also have Roi another cousin, Georgette Roy. So that from the 54 that I share with René, only 17 of those are common ancestors with Georgette. So if I pick from this list, so again, Georgette also is descended from Charles and Angelique, and so you can see there's her line of descent. But that doesn't narrow it down enough. So I could add more. So I'm going to add another one here, Tessier 1, 3, 4, 6. And that should give me, there we go. That should get, now interesting, went to 23. So that increased it instead of decreased it. And that's, which is a weird thing, but I think that's because it's including some that are related to just, here, let me put Charles again here. Some that are related to just Georgette and some that are related to Marie-Berthe. And the ones, of course, that I'm interested in are the ones that are related to all 4 of us, like this one here. Mm-hmm. So you could keep on adding. I'm not sure what if there is a limit to the number of cousins you can add along there, but it's a very interesting tool to use to really zoom in.
Yeah.
And there's another cool use for it, even if that it really has nothing to do with DNA, but just as a fun thing to do is, let's see how the 3 of us are related.
No.
Betsy and I are 24th cousins.
24th.
And we share 101 common ancestors, including Henry Plantagenet of England. But let's see, what if we add Mags Galden to the list? And sure enough, 64 of those ancestors we have in common, including Henry as well. 24th cousins there, and Mags also is related, also a descendant of Henry. There we go. The 3 of us, we're cousins.
I need to put my big hat on.
That's right.
That is fabulous.
Isn't that a cool tip? A cool, neat thing?
Thank you for showing that.
No problem. I hope that was fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I went and looked at Jimmy Dickens' WikiTree profile. If you haven't, you should go look at that. That's really
yes.
fun this
What's
morning.
the ID? Can you show?
It's Dickens 1259.
Okay. All right.
What we've got going on coming up and all that stuff we got to run through real quick. One thing that I am very disappointed about is the Connect-a-thon. It's coming up July 19th, 19th through the 22nd, and I am going to be out in the wilds of Canada at a wedding and will not have very much connectivity. So this will be the first one I have ever missed.
Oh no.
Ever. I'm a little verklempt.
You're verklempt.
I'm verklempt over that.
I'm sorry. We're gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss it too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But this wedding is many gorgeous men in kilts.
Well, that softens the blow a little bit, right?
It softens the blow a whole bunch. I'm telling you. Just saying. And the women will be wearing their tartan pens or what, pendant scarves. I can't wait. It's going to be a gorgeous wedding. So we've got the Connection Rose, the War of the Roses coming up for the Connection checkers game, but coming up for the end of June. What's today? Today is the 20. Oh, it doesn't even show up. So the Saturday roundup, the 22nd. New member Q&A coming up with Betsy Co on the 23rd at 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. The question of the week will get posted, and then the 52 Ancestors Challenge will also. The Data Doctors Challenge is ongoing, as well as the Connection Checkers. And the Link Builder Champion Challenge and the WikiTree Challenge Week 8 reveal. So let me pop over. I was getting ready to go back to Godiva. There we go. Thomas McKenty. We just wrapped up Alan Thompson Jennings. So Thomas McKenty is coming up. Doesn't he look so part of the Rat Pack there?
He does.
He would have fit in so well with that crowd too. He would have. He's so colorful and wonderful. Cemetery Spotlight coming up this week is the Moreau River Canadian War Cemetery. Cool. And of course, all of these links here will get you to Facebook, X. I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Mastodon.
Mastodon, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. Woo! That I knew all of them except for that one.
You passed the social media test.
Wow.
Wow. I'm glad that Azure is the butterfly, not me. Q&A, because Mastodon, what's that? Remember Q&A with Betsy's coming up on Sunday. Question of the week will be posted. The one name Tuesday is Clark. Greg,
Oh,
do you have something to do with that?
Clark
no,
with
I
an
don't.
E?
There's no E in the end.
There's no E. Look, they misspelled it. You need to go and work the. Just kidding. The connection checkers is coming up. The one place study is Duncan, Nova Scotia, down east, man, down east. Connectathon is coming up. I am so heartbroken. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame coming up for the spotlight. So the project showcase is the Connectathon.
Nice.
So they're showing that. So and then we get to meet our members on Saturday, and then you'll see us again. Yeah. So there you go. And that is. Am I done? Did I do everything?
Well,
we
there's
have
a couple
one.
things.
Yeah, one more thing to talk about. A new initiative. Can I take over, Meg?
Absolutely.
Okay. Which is the it's called the Watch List Weevil Challenge.
Nice.
Yes, and this has been started by, I'm sure, I see Az in the background there. Maybe Az can put up the G2G link. And this is an initiative of Pam Smith, and it's going to be over a whole month, I think, or even more. But each week on Wednesday, so it's Wednesday Weevil, there will be a live cast about the new Weevil that will be, gone after during that week. So,
that was Pac-Man, Greg. What Pac-Man?
I know. I did this.
What did you do, Greg? Oh, well, you'll have to show me later.
That's right. She's on a laptop.
Wednesday there will be the first live cast. Oh, it's a 12-week challenge. Here we go. And there's Discord channel for it. Right on at the beginning of July, Wednesday, July 3rd, 10:30 Eastern Time is the first live cast. And we have a nice free space page. Go get those Weevils.
There's something else here. If you're done, Betsy,
yes,
Greg, if you want to cover the WikiTree games, they just announced the roster. So there's the link to that.
Yeah.
The team rosters have been pointed out. So there we go.
That's right. Yeah. They were just released this morning. So for those who signed up already, you can scroll down and see which team you've been assigned to. And there's a free space page and a Discord channel for all but three of the teams are communicating with a G2G post for their chat, and the rest are using Discord. So check that out. And if you didn't get a chance to sign up early because it was too early for you to think about the Wiki Games, which happen at the end of August, do not fret, because we will open up registration again after the July Connectathon is over. So you still have time to sign up and be part of the Wiki Games, but we wanted to get things started early so the teams could get to meet each other, because it's unlike the regular Connectathons where you choose a team to join. We've just put everyone in a heap and just divided it up, and you've got members from all around the world. So you've got members from Australia, New Zealand, some from Europe and South Africa, and some from the Americas. So you're going to be working with people you've never met before. So
it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And what's really funny is when you did the Pac-Man thing across the screen, people obviously went straight to the sound. Okay, so we had word association.
I didn't know why they were typing that.
Yeah, and so they were typing that. So was it Chris said, or however you spell Pac-Man noises. And then Lisa says Wonka. Oh, but that reminds me of Fozzie Bear. So we're just playing this word association game. So, and then down here, that's a Wonka. I think it's Wonka. I think it has to have an N kind of an.
Yeah, Wonka.
Okay. Anyway, this is the weirdest live cast I think we've done. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next weekend same place, same channel for the Saturday LiveCast. We love seeing you guys. We love being with you guys on Saturday morning. So you have a good, safe week.
Yeah. Happy WikiTree.
See ya.